Welcome everyone. This is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com, and this is going to be your Let's Get Ready for the week ahead, April 8th through April 12th. We're going to take a look at some of the markets, some of the action that passed, some of the news events that moved the markets around this past week. Then we'll go ahead and look forward and see what we have coming up and what's important for the week ahead. We'll go through some of the best stocks and worst stocks for the week that passed. Sometimes we can pick up some stocks there and put them on our watch list. Our stock watch list will be out later in the day. This is Sunday when I'm making this video. Let's go ahead and take a look at the S&P 500. So as you can see from the weekly chart here, we're just a bit away from the all-time highs in the market. That was at 2939.86. So we'll call it 2940 for the S&P 500. We closed on Friday at 2,892.74, so 2,893 area. So we're not too far from those all-time highs, and we also are holding above that 2,800 level on the S&P 500. So a good week for the bulls. Friday closed up strong. The momentum in the market continues. Another good week for the markets after we had that 20% drop at Christmas time. You have the SMH up 40% from the Christmas massacre. Even Mexico, the ETF for Mexico with President Trump going after Mexico this week is up 6% for the week. So a good week all around. The Dow Jones was up 40 points. The transports were up 46 points on Friday. S&P 500 was up 13, and the Nasdaq coming in plus 47 on the Nasdaq. What moved the markets? We had the jobs number that came out on Friday. We had the China deal maybe getting closer, etc. China numbers came out earlier in the week. China sentiment numbers improved, and of course the optimism over the U.S. and China trade. With oil moving up this week, we had a strong sector move in TAN, which is the ETF for solar. For the week, that was up 7%. Year to date, the solar sector is up almost 34% year to date. If we look at the SMH, which had a very strong week that passed, almost up 6% on the SMH for the year. We're up 29%. Robo, which is the automation ETF, ROBO, for the week that passed was up 5.5%. For the year, we're up almost 25% there. Oil had a strong week. The ETF for light sweet crude oil was up almost over 5% for the week. Friday, it was moving up a little under 2%. Year to date, oil off the lows is up 36%, moving up almost 5% for the week and holding above the $60 area. A lot of the stocks in the oil sector were moving up. The OIH for the week was up 4% for the week. And if we look at the XOP, which is the oil and exploration sector in the S&P 500 for the week, that was up a little under 3.5% for the week. As you can see, year to date, we're up almost 20% in that sector. Some other strong sectors for the week, we had the airline sector having a real nice move. Even with oil moving up, the airlines were moving up. We had that up 5% for the week. The home builders climbing this week up over 4.5% for the week. The IBB also climbing this week up a little under 3% for the week. The IWM, which everybody was watching, it was lagging. If we take a look at that on the daily chart for the IWM, as you can see, we are clearing above the 200 SMA here on the IWM. This is what the bulls want to see. The IWC, though, still remains, this is the micro cap, still remains below the 200 SMA on the IWC, but as you can see, more risk coming into the market, and especially when you see on Friday the market moving up like that, people are putting risk on and holding stocks into the weekend. That's what you want to see on a Friday. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the heat map from Friday. As you can see, we had the banks were down, kind of a mixed as far as the fangs. Google was down about 0.5%. Facebook was down fractionally on Friday. Amazon had a strong day on Friday, up 1%. Disney moving up strong on Friday, up a little bit under 1%. ExxonMobil and Chevron were getting some buying there. Chevron up over 1.30%. Apple up almost 0.5%, over 0.5% on Friday. So nice moves across many markets. Boeing took a little bit of a hit on Friday after moving up on Thursday. Boeing lost about 1% on Friday. This is your heat map courtesy of FinViz. So across the board, some good strong buying and a little bit of selling in Netflix here, down a little over 0.5% for the day on Friday. Visually, for the weekly sector performance in the SPY, as you can see, the XLP and the XLU were down fractionally for the week. So, more money moving into the higher risk areas and kind of coming out of those defensive areas in the XLU and the XLP. XLB moved up strong, and we had the XLK moving up strong this week. XLC, XLY, all gaining for the week that passed. These are some of the headlines that came out on Friday. The job market bounces back in March with 196,000 gain in payrolls. So those numbers came out Friday. The market was happy with them. Not too hot, not too cold. So that helped guide the markets higher. Trump says economy would take off like a rocket if Fed cut rates, ending tightening policy. So Trump coming out making some comments on the Fed and policy there. Trump also backing off Mexico border shutdown, a big relief for U.S. car makers as auto sales were tumbling. So Trump coming out with those comments. And where do we stand on how did the U.S. and China trade talks? And the United States and China had productive meeting and made progress on numerous key issues during the trade talks from April 3rd to April 5th, according to a statement from the White House. Significant work remains. As far as Boeing, it's been very much in the news. Boeing to cut the 737 MAX production beginning in April. Options activity that came out on Friday, courtesy of the Trade Exchange News Service. KR had call activity, INFY, STNG, DFRG, GILD, COP, and CY. Unusual put activity, DISH, DISH, CPRI, AC, BEN, SIG, FOXA, and DOCU. All unusual activity to the put side. This courtesy of the Trade Exchange. Bitcoin, we'll take a look at the daily chart, holding steady over 5,000. A big move in Bitcoin, a mysterious buyer in Bitcoin helped to ignite Bitcoin this week, and some of the crypto stocks this week. So Bitcoin holding above 5,000 over the weekend thus far. So we'll go ahead and get into some of the best stocks for the week that passed. ZIOP had a very nice week, up 15% for the week. XXII also climbing this week, up almost 10% on the week. STZ, after they announced earnings on Thursday, this stock bouncing back on the weekly chart you're looking at here, up over 10% for the week. APHA climbing this week. Cannabis name up 8%. VF ETFF having a very strong week, up almost 12% on the week. AMD coming in with a strong week, up 14% on the week. A lot of positive analyst comments on AMD, moving that one up. SGMO, promising data in their phase 1-2. They also did an offering, and SGMO for the week ended up 32% for the week on this name, ADMA. FDA approval for one of its treatments on ADMA, up 34% for the week. SPWR and a lot of the solars were moving up this week. SPWR up 14% for the week. FSLR having a strong week, up a little under 7% for the week on First Solar. Run moving up 8% this week on RUN. VSLR having a strong week, up 5% for the week. Sedge, the Israeli solar company, up 8% for the week on SEDG. AVEO had a strong week. This stock moving up 32% for the week. DAL and some of the airlines. DAL had their load factor numbers come out. DAL up almost 12% for the week. AAL was climbing this week, up 7%. UAL also moving up a little under 6.5% for the moving up this week, also up 15% for the week on Urban. ZYNE climbing this week, up 61% on ZYNE. Restructuring news came out, reduction of about 50 employees on REPH. Stock climbing 45% for the week. Baidu had a very strong week this week that passed, up 10% on Baidu. Win, some of the casino names having a good week on stronger China numbers, up 18% for the week. LVS also climbing this week, up 8% for the week. DBVT moving up this week, up 14%. They did an offering and gross proceeds of $70.4 million for DBVT. VTL will merge and change name to Immunec. IMUX is going to be the symbol there, and that's going to happen in mid-April for VTL. This stock climbing 155%. Now, as you can see, it's an under $1 name, but they're going to be making some moves, changing their name, new symbol, IMUX. VKTX, Phase 2 and Phase 3 study info was released. They like the news that came out on this name, moved it up almost 7% on VKTX. LRCX climbing this week in the semi space. We're a lot of strong semi stocks this week. LRCX up 9%. HOG climbing on some good China numbers and good China news. This stock, which has been beaten down, climbing 13% on HOG. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of the worst stocks for the week that passed. We'll start out with STNE. This is a Brazilian company. They're in the software application fintech company. Now, after making a big run from about $20 all the way up to 46 after their earnings came out, a little bit of a pullback here now, pulling back to $35 and change, down 12%, 13% for the week. Keep your eye on that one for bounces on STNE. Has been a very strong stock. ZS also in the software space, moving down 11% for the week. PLAN also a software infrastructure play. So all these stocks that have been very strong, once they lose a little bit of their momentum, they can fall fast, but can give good opportunities. So keep an eye on some of these hot names. This stock moving down 11% for the week. Over in the cannabis space, we had Tilray moving down this week 9%. NBEV also dropping this week. NBEV down 9% for the week on this name. GME came out with earnings, and this stock slowly fading to oblivion here, down another 3% for the week on GME. EVOK, a CRL for FDA letter came out on it for its new drug on Evoke, so this stock dropped 48% for the week. ADXS, Phase 1 Two info was released. They didn't like what they heard. The stock dropping 35% for the week. CANF came out with an offering. The stock dropping 32% for the week. PSTI also coming out with an offering, dropping 40% by doing an offering. They're diluting their shares out in the market. Dropped 14% this week that passed. Mac is discontinuing development of a treatment, SYRS offering of shares on this name. Stock dropped 18% for the week. WBA over in the Dow, this stock dropping 14% after they released earnings on this name. BB BlackBerry, who had earnings last Friday for the week, though, giving back some of those gains, down about 8% for the week. MO Altria Group dropping 5% for the week. ANF taking a little bit of a pullback here, dropping 5.5%. So let's go ahead and get ready for the week ahead. This courtesy of the Trade Exchange News Service. So we do get a lot of Fed speak, the most important one being from Jerome Powell. This kicks off on Tuesday, the 9th at 8 p.m. Fed speak, Jerome Powell will be speaking, so that is going to be closely watched. We also get Jerome Powell speaking on Thursday, the 11th at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, so Fed Speak there, and also Fed Speak on Friday by Jerome Powell at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So Thursday and Friday and Tuesday for your Fed Speak are very important days with Jerome Powell speaking. On Wednesday, we get some numbers coming out from from China, the CPI and the PPI. Japan is Tuesday night. PPI and machine orders coming out at 7:50. China will be at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So those numbers will be closely watched on Wednesday evening. We also get China merchandise and trade balance coming out at 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 11th. For the U.S. economy, it's pretty straightforward. Other than the Fed speak, pretty straightforward as far as economic information. We do get U.S. CPI coming out on Wednesday at 8:30. So that's Wednesday. Some worries that we do have out there for the markets are the European economy. German data has been coming in weak. Italy has been lowering their growth. So we get German CPI and France CPI coming out. We get some numbers. Italy's industrial production coming out. Also UK industrial production. So this is going to be watched. Germany merchandise trade coming out on Monday at 2 a.m. in the morning. So some overnight important numbers coming out for the week ahead. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the earnings coming out. This courtesy of Earnings Whisper. SOL, Rena Sola will be reporting Monday before the open. SOL symbol there. WD40 will be reporting Tuesday after the bell. We get the airline, Delta, reporting before the bell on Wednesday. Not a lot of earnings this week. Coming up, Bed Bath & Beyond will be reporting Wednesday after the bell. BBBY, symbol there. Fastnell, Rite Aid, RAD, symbol there. Friday, the banks kick off earnings season here. JP Morgan, JPM, Wells Fargo, WFC, PNC, all reporting earnings on Friday. And this is the kickoff of earnings season on April 8th. So that's when your big companies, big banks will be reporting earnings, and then we head into the following week. We get right into the thick of the earnings season, so that is something to pay attention going into the weeks ahead. Disney will be having their Analyst Day on Thursday, April 11th, so pay attention to Disney this week coming up. Could see a nice move in Disney one way or the other on that event, which is happening April 11th. We also have Boeing will be closely watched this week as they're cutting their production in the 737 MAX jet airliner. We'll see what the reaction to that's going to be. Boeing has been bouncing back quite a bit, and as I stated, a lot of the big banks will start to kick kickoff of earnings season. JP Morgan will kick it off on Friday, April 12th, as earnings season is going to be going into full mode coming up in the next few weeks. So we'll end the video here on a weekly chart of the SMH, the semiconductor ETF. As you can see, we're coming up to that 114.73 area on the weekly chart. We've had a big bounce from $80, $81 on the SMH and climbing, holding above the 10 SMA. Very strong move on Friday in the semiconductor space, but we are coming up to a resistance spot on this sector, so keep an eye on that. Lastly, we'll just take a look at the NASDAQ composite here as we're coming back up to all-time highs on the NASDAQ after that V bottom on the weekly chart, holding above the 34, the 10 SMA, getting above and holding above that 7,500 area for the NASDAQ. So definitely the leaders here are leading as far as Apple and the FANG names making some nice moves. Amazon holding up very strong. Can they push us through the record highs that we had in the NASDAQ composite? So have a very good week trading for the week ahead. I hope this information helps you be more ready for the week ahead than you were before. Be careful. Jerome Powell will be speaking quite a few times this week. And this is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com, and back at you with another video, Stocks to Watch.